I want to say that I really appreciate the extra time I'm having now. It seems that I have lots of time that I can do other things. I've been working in the yard and so on because I only have class every other week. So thank you very much. I hope my throat will be better, but still I prefer every 2 weeks. Today we're going to sing a song called Perfect. That's a typo. Okay, Perfect. This is a song I've never heard before until the other day. I got on the, excuse me, I got on Hui Lin's exercise program. She has a twice a week exercise program. And we all enjoyed the song very much. So I said I would choose this song for my class. And I matched it with the song in CHING. And because my sister asked for some kind of introduction to Oracle Bone scripts, so we're going to talk about that. And the last time I also talked about the Book of Kells. I want to go through that a little bit. And I have a recommended video that I really enjoyed. This wonderful professor, I don't know which school, college she teaches. It's a female professor, and she talked about Chinese poetry. And she quoted a lot of poems that I liked very much, and she interpreted it very well. And she probably talked about 20 or something like 20 poems. And one of them I really enjoyed, and I picked it for our class 2 weeks from now. So if you're interested, you can watch this video in which toward the end, she quoted Li Xiangyin's 昨夜, and that's the one I'm going to pick. And I also matched it with Dylan Thomas' poem, which is very famous. It's a Do Not Go Gently into the Good Night. So 4 weeks from today, we're going to talk about these two wonderful poems. However, that's also a new thing for me because I do not believe there is a song that sings Dylan Thomas' poem. So we're just going to listen to he himself reciting this poem. Okay, so let's go to this vocabulary in which I have one word that was marked with a red highlight. Because when I sent you the handout 2 days ago, I had Qing Mei Su there. And today I look at it, I don't think that's Qing Mei Su, so I changed it to Qing Mei Jun. So that's why I marked it with this red color, so you would notice that maybe you would put a note on your handout. And you may notice that I have a lot less words in the vocabulary because I want to really try to reduce the time that I spend in the class. So let's see how it works out. The first word is oracle. I talked about oracle last time. It's about Greek mythology. This oracle appeared all the time, sometimes many, many times in each story, because they really believe in God speaking to the people through an oracle who is some kind of a fortune teller, but she or he does not tell the fortune by himself or herself. They just speak while they were in a trance and let God speak through them. So this is a very different kind of fortune teller. A person such as a priest through whom the deity is supposed to respond with prophecy or advice. So God, some kind of God would make a prophecy, which is a 预言, or advice, 或者是说劝告你做什么事. How do they do that? Because nobody could see a deity, which is a god. So a god would speak through an oracle to the people. And the story we talked about last time was probably Jason and the Argonaut. And in that story, the oracles have appeared many, many times before the child was born, after the child was born, and this, when the child grew up and was going on the expedition. Every step of the story, the oracle would step up and tell the future so that people will know what's going to happen. That is very strange in our experience. However, in our culture, we have lots of different fortune tellers, but we also have one kind that God or dead people would speak through a certain kind of medium. So actually, I would say the culture of fortune telling is quite similar all over the world. No matter where you are, you have fortune tellers using different ways to tell fortune. So there are different words for a fortune teller. There are palm readers who would read your palm. They look at the line on your palm, your palm. And they would read the lines and so on. The funny thing happened once when I went to a middle school reunion. One of my classmates said, now she really believes in palm reading, because before she had the accent, the lines on her palm were different from after when she had the accent. So I was curious if it was so magical. It should have showed this before her accident so that she could tell, or somebody could tell. So I don't understand the reasoning behind this. But people all over the world will look at your palm and tell you the future. And some are called the seers, which means they could see things other people cannot see. Or some would be called a crystal gazer. They would have a crystal ball, whether this large or this small, sometimes this big. You could see that in the movies, most of the time, the fantasy movies. Some people would look at the crystal ball and tell things, what's happening or what will happen in the future. This kind of people is called the crystal gazers. And the soothsayer is also a word for fortune teller. And the clairvoyant is people who could see things that other people could not see. So this is another word for it. But prophets, like those in the Bible, they are people who could tell what's going to happen in the future. And some of them, because God speaks to them, some of them, they just knew what's going to happen. And of course, oracle is one of the fortune tellers with a specific definition. So these are all fortune tellers. In fact, there are more than these. And the people who are fortune tellers, they would do a thing that's called the divination. That is to understand the unknowable, and predict things. That's called the divination. The divine, D-I-V-I-N-E, is something that is holy, or things from the God or of the God. And the divination is being able to tell these divine things. So you need some certain skills to do such things. So divination is the practice of seeking knowledge of the future or the unknown by supernatural means. So this is the kind of job that special people could do by their supernatural means. Supernatural 就是超越天然的事情， So if they could see something or we ordinary people couldn't see, then this is something supernatural. So divination is the practice of trying to find the future or unknown things by supernatural means. And if I go to Wikipedia and search for divination, and this is a whole lot of people who did a whole lot of different things in order to divine the future. So divination translated into Chinese could be wu shi or zhan gua, or this jiao is like in Taiwan, when you go to a temple, you have two halves of a thing like this, and you pray something and you throw it on the floor and it separates. The two parts separates, and you could see these two parts are either this way, or one up, one down. That is also divination. And because this, I don't think you can easily see, I enlarged it twice. So the first half says all these things, and all these things, you don't have to learn the word because they're so obscure. People don't know these words, for example, exispacy or gastromancy. You don't have to know any of these words, but you just follow me through the highlighted red words. So some people would tell the future by observing the heavenly bodies, like gazing at the stars, or they would watch the birds fly, or they would check the books, or check the religious books, or they would play cards or use special cards like tarot cards or oracle cards, or they would watch the candle dripping wax. The candle, as it is burning, the wax would go stream down the candle, and some kind of fortune teller would tell fortune by looking at the candle wax. And of course, we just mentioned there are people who tell fortune by looking at the lines on your palm, or the shape of your hands, or your face, or the moles on your face,那个叫什么痣哈, or the skull. Some people in Hsinchu would touch your skull and predict your future. And also on the calendar, it's marked, this is a good day for what? For funeral, for wedding, or for party, or not a good day for such things. These are all parts of the divination. And people would collect animal bones or stones and throw it to tell the future. Or sometimes they kill an animal to sacrifice, 就是牺牲的时候哈. Then afterward, they would cut out the belly of this animal and see, look at it inside, an intestine and the organ parts, and by that they would tell fortune. For example, Thornton Wilder has a novel called The Ides of March. It's about Julius Caesar. And on the day that he was assassinated, the fortune teller shot a bird and opened up the bird and tell his future, saying, today is a bad day, you should not go to the Senate because the bird's entrail, the intestine contains this and that. That is a kind of fortune telling, which I don't know if Chinese do that. I've never heard of it. So when I read that book, I find it very interesting. And feng shui is, of course, exclusively Chinese. And let's see. There's more. There's I Ching, okay. There's you can throw bamboo sticks with words carved on it, and you can reach the dead people at a thing that's called a seance. That is people sitting around the table, and this medium, which is a Ling Mei, he or she would summon the dead people so that the dead people would speak through this medium. That's a kind of fortune telling too. We've seen that, for example, in the movie called The Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. When when Patrick Swayze was murdered, Demi Moore was able to hear what he was talking by going to, actually, it's the dead person played by Patrick Swayze. He went to this medium who was played by Whoopi Goldberg, and he told this medium about what happened and things like that. Yeah, I think such things, though very rare, we would see from time to time in movies. And of course, there are people who could do divination based on your dream, like Joseph in the Bible telling the Pharaoh that there will be 7 years of bounty harvest and followed by 7 years of famine. These are dream interpreters, and they are called oneromancy. Okay, these are all weird words nobody knows. Okay, and there's the parakeets. You use a small bird, a little parakeet, 小鹦鹉, and they could pick up the cards in order to tell your future. They were trained by the fortune teller to do that. And there's origami fortune telling. But I don't know. I've never seen that. So origami is the Japanese paper folding. And the fire and the rods and the pendulum, rooms and mirror and the Ouija board. 我们那个叫什么 board? When we were students in high school, we would sometimes gather around the board and holding on to something that would point to the different letters or words to predict things. These are all different. And the last one is also something in the West that I haven't heard of in China, which is by reading tea leaves. When you put tea leaves in the teacups and drink the tea, and by the shape and size of different leaves, then you could tell the fortune. Okay, I would explain a little bit about this thing I just talked about with in the movie The Ghost. And in other movies like The Blithe Spirit, which was made from a Noah Coward play, the version I saw with Rex Harrison, I don't know the other ladies. Anyway, a seance is when you have a medium who is a Ling Mei. Usually it's a woman, but sometimes it's a man. She or he would conduct a seance because it's a French word, so it's a seance. And by doing it at her home or your home, you could have a party and invite a medium to conduct a seance in your home, to just as entertainment. As the movie I just mentioned, which is called The Blithe Spirit, they had such a party, and this lady sit down, and the people would sit around the table holding each other's hand all around. You hold the hands of the two people next to you. And then she start to pray and start to call the dead person's name, who happens to be the wife, the dead wife of Rex Harrison. And the wife appeared to her great surprise. This medium was not expecting the ghost to show up, actually. So this is the kind of seance. It's a meeting at which people attempt to make contact, to get in touch with the dead, especially through a medium. And what is a medium? A medium is something in the middle so that things, messages from one side would be passed through this medium to the other side, while the two sides could not communicate with each other. For example, nowadays we say media, 就是媒体哈，新闻界媒体，媒体是 medium 的多数哈。The word which is a singular form is medium, and its plural form is media, media. Yeah, I think everybody knows the word media, but you probably don't know it's from the word medium. Medium, we can say, when a waiter took your order for a steak, he would say, do you want rare, medium, or well done? Medium means right in the middle. But as a noun, it means the thing in the middle that helps the two sides communicate. So here it says an agency or means of doing something. An example of the sentence is using the latest technology as a medium for job creation. In order to create jobs, to announce the creation of job or a job opportunity. Nowadays, internet was used a great deal in order to provide a contact between the employer and the potential employees. And the medium would be a website or something. Another explanation for the word medium is the intervening substance through which impressions are conveyed to the senses, or a force acts on objects at a distance. For example, radio. Radio is in the air, you could not see. It's using the air to broadcast signals from a tower to a very wide area. So without this radio waves, people would not be able to, say, receive your TV broadcast or the radio broadcast. But with no physical medium, you were able to receive the broadcast because it's done through the airwaves. So the airwaves provide a medium for that. Okay, this is another word associated with the seance and the medium. This is called the trance. When this oracle or this medium is getting into the condition that God or a dead person was going to speak through this person, this oracle or this medium, then this oracle or this medium would be in a trance. They would look like they're stupid or not aware of things. If you put your hand in front of him or her, there's no sign that shows he could see your hand. And sometimes this kind of person is under hypnosis, which is, how do you say that in Chinese?
催眠.
催眠, yeah, okay, 催眠, yeah. Hypnosis is 催眠, yeah. So when a person under hypnosis, this person would be in a trance. Sometimes you can't tell. Sometimes you just feel it's weird. How come this person is not responding? It's because this person is under hypnosis or is in a trance. These are all related words. These two words are simple: inhale and exhale. Inhale is to breathe in and exhale is to breathe out. And if you go to a Pilates or a yoga class, you would see this word repeated again and again because they would tell you when to breathe in and when to breathe out. Breathing is very important when you do this kind of exercise. This word is called the citadel. Citadel is from probably a Latin word, which means little city or a little castle. Here is a map I grabbed from Wikipedia. It looks like it's a town in Italy. However, the words next to it is in French, but doesn't matter. We're just looking at this picture. And you see this map with a river on the right-hand side, and there's a star-shaped castle on the left-hand side. And between the river and the citadel, there is a city. So the city is a walled city, with walls. In the old days, many cities, whether in the West or in the East, they have this city wall, which could be used to defend from enemy or attack. Not only that, this is just an ordinary wall with some defense structure, but on the left-hand side of this picture is the real castle. When your enemy were able to get into your city, people would all go into the citadel, because the citadel is much more heavily fortified. So it has layers and layers of very thick walls in different shapes. You know, it's in a star shape, so that when people in this citadel looking out, they could easily see whether enemy is climbing the wall or is climbing the other corner of the star. So this is a quite complicated citadel. I have not seen any Chinese castles or forts or walled city built this pretty. That's why I got this picture, because it's really, really a very well structured, constructed citadel. So the citadel is the core fortified area of a town. So you have this town, but at one corner of it, it is especially fortified. So it's called a citadel. It may be a castle, a fortress, or a fortified center. Here is not really a word, because it's not a noun or verbal or something. Maybe it's an adjective. It's Greco-Roman, because the civilization of Greece, that would be Greco or Greek civilization, and the Roman Empire inherited Greek civilization on the wholesale level. Everything they accepted, they took it in as their own. So a lot of things, when we look at this thing, we would say, oh, that's from a Greco-Roman period, or that's a Greco-Roman world, or a Greco-Roman culture, Greco-Roman mythology, Greco-Roman mysteries, Greco-Roman hairstyle. So anything that is that kind of style, you would put Greco-Roman, the two words, to mean that this is a traditional Western European ancient traditional culture. So that is the word Greco-Roman. And you can put two countries' name with the hyphen in between to mean, for example, 中美关系. You can say Sino-American relationship. The word for China is often said this way. We say Sino or Sino. If you're European, you probably say Sino, but in America, we would say Sino. So anything between two countries, one is China, the other is not, then you put it here. We usually put China in first because we are the center of the world. So we say 中美关系, 中日关系. We don't say 美中关系 or 日中关系. We always put China first. And so we have Sino-American or we have Sino-Japanese. For example, we in modern history, there were two huge battle or warfare between China and Japan. The first one would be called 甲午战争, but if you say 甲午战争, no one else will know what you're talking about. You have to say the first Sino-Japanese war. Now, every country in the world, they know this war as the first Sino-Japanese war. The second would be our 抗战. Nobody knows what 抗战 is unless you are Chinese. So what do you tell people about 抗战? You would say the second Sino-Japanese war. So to every foreigners, they would understand that means part of the World War II, which is bigger, longer than the World War II, because China and Japan started the war several years before Nazi Germany invaded Poland. Okay. Here I was talking about the 7th Earl of okay. What is that? Elgin, okay, Elgin, E-L-G-I-N, okay. I was talking about the 2nd Earl of Elgin, Elgin 就是people don't say second, 7th, we just say Elgin. Earl, Elgin. Earl Elgin was an envoy. This can be pronounced envoy or envoy. Two ways are both correct. And he was an envoy from, I believe, Queen Victoria. He was sent to Turkish Empire, to the Sultan. The emperor of Turkish Empire is called a Sultan, Sultan. And the Sultan of the Sultan of Turkey authorized him that he could go to the Parthenon in Athens to take anything he wants and bring home. So he was an envoy who did this thing, which caused eternal anger between the two countries. The two countries meaning Greece and the UK, because Greece was under occupation by the Turkish Empire. So they had no say in this transaction, during which their valuable relics of the civilization was robbed and now are located in the British Museum. So this Earl Elgin was in a position called an envoy, a person delegated to represent one government in its dealings with another. So he's a delegate representing UK to deal with the Turkish Sultan. He could also be a messenger or a representative. These are straightforward words. One is antonym and one is synonym. When you check a word in the dictionary, usually you can find at the end of the explanation that this word, you can also use these synonyms instead, or you can use its opposite word, which is this antonym, okay? And the next word is alloy or alloy. I like to say alloy but it's both are okay, alloy or alloy, which is a 合金, which means usually one of them has to be a metal, but another thing could be a different metal, but it also could be something else, not necessarily a metal. So we say these two things combined together as a mixture, sometimes with more than two. So there could be 3 or 4 or whatever, but at least there are two, and at least one of them should be a metal. And the resulting mixture is a substance that is different and has something that we desire. It is either stronger or softer or whatever. We add things to one thing, we add a different thing to it in order to get something different. For example, you put gold and the copper together, that's called the red gold. And if you put gold and silver together, it's called the white gold. And if you put silver and the copper together, it becomes sterling silver. Okay. So these are different alloys, okay? And this is another kind of copper alloy. When we were in high school, actually, I memorized this. The way I memorized is, I would say, 青黄白皙新镍. So later I would say bronze. I learned that it's called bronze. Bronze is our 青铜. It's because you put tin into copper to make it. What do you make it? I mean, what are the traits that makes it better? I don't really know, but all the statues you see made of copper, they're made of bronze. Oh, I don't mean 100%. 90% of the statues are made in bronze if it's using copper instead of stone or marble or wood or whatever. We're just talking about metallic statues. While brass, it's used usually, it's called 黄铜 with zinc. Zinc is 锡哈，锌哈，锌就是现在我们说治感冒的这种锌哈。Brass is yellowish. We use it to make medals or plaques. It's got certain traits that makes it particularly good. For medals, we would have, for example, at an Olympic game, you would have the first and second and third people who won this game, and they would be called the gold medal, silver medal, and the bronze. I guess it's bronze. Okay, it's not brass. Okay, brass would be brass band. When you say brass band, it's a 军乐队, huh? It's a militaristic kind of marching band, and they would have mostly they would have brass instruments with like trombones and trumpets, things that are you blow into it. This kind of instrument is usually made of brass, which is a yellow kind of copper alloy. And the third one, which I learned in high school, is never so common when after I got to the English-speaking country. So I never knew baitong, how to say baitong, which is, according to the internet, it's called the cupronickel or nickel silvers because it's white in color. So it's quite magical when you have copper, which is a very deep color, and you add some nickel, it can become silver color. So when we were in high school, we learned about copper alloys as 青铜, 黄铜, 白铜. However, when we learned to speak English, we only learned the bronze and the brass because we didn't learn the one about the nickel. This word is cosmetics. It's for makeup. So another word for cosmetics, an antonym of cosmetics could be makeup or toilette, or this would be a kind of a French word, so it's toilette. And now we come to the word which is actually Qingmeijun, penicillium, ended with IUM. That is more commonly a Latin word. So you could encounter this kind of words when you see a plant or animal or germs or whatever. So this germ is called penicillium. But in 1929, Alexander Fleming was a person who discovered that if you process penicillium in a certain way, you would get penicillin. Here is the word with LLIN, and in Chinese it would be called Qingmeisu. So you process this penicillium to make it into a penicillin, which becomes an antibiotic or antibiotic, 就是抗生素. This is the first time human being learned how to make antibiotic and how to use it to kill germs. Once this was invented, millions of lives were saved by using this antibiotic to cure diseases or to prevent infection. For example, during the World War II, in the First World War, many people were injured and died, but in the Second World War, we could use penicillin to save many people's lives. And they have also other uses. Let me see, kill or stop the growth of certain kinds of bacteria. The last time we learned that many blue cheeses, there are so many of them. They all taste a little different, but they were made by adding some kind of penicillium to the milk. I myself I like blue cheese very much. I like many kinds of blue cheese, but I can certainly understand many Chinese who do not like blue cheese because it does have a strange smell and taste. It's similar to our chou doufu, or what else do we have? I don't think pi dan is from that, no, but chou doufu is probably from that. And a friend of mine who learned to make chou doufu herself was taught to buy chives, 韭菜, and put in the oven, not by cooking it, but let it sit there for a long time until it becomes bad. Then she would add that to tofu to make this a stinky tofu. It sounds quite scary, and I've never tried it, but that's what she told me. According to the dictionary of fungi, you can also say fungi, as Judy Dench told us in her special video. She called them fungi, but we usually call it fungi. Fungi is the plural of fungus, like tree ear more, or shiitake. These are fungus, but it's a plural of that, so these are fungi. And according to the dictionary of fungi, this very widespread genus of germ, there are 300 species. There are so many different penicillin. And there are also many other kinds of germs, but when we talk about penicillium only, there are 300 kinds. So I grabbed some pictures on the upper left corner. There are all kinds of penicillin in petri dishes. 那是一个 petri dish， 中文叫什么？ 不是烧杯哈，我忘记它叫什么了。Maybe Eileen could tell me. A petri dish is called what? Anyway, so in this picture we have 5 times 4, 20 dishes with these are dishes.
培养基啊，
培养哦 ，OK， 培养皿吧，
培养皿或者碟子。
碟或者碟子 ，yeah. I used to have a roommate who studies biology, and she said they would put agar into this dish as a fertile ground for germ or for things to grow. Then they put some germ on it, and then it'll grow. So this medium that helped the germ to grow is agar， 我们叫寒天，或者叫做洋菜，或者叫做 content is a Japanese word for it, but the English word is called agar. I don't know why it's repeating twice. agar. Okay, that's the medium in that dish. And underneath that, I put the name on it. This is a special kind of penicillin, which is called Penicillium citrinum. It grows on oranges only. That's why it's called the citrinum. Citrus is the word for orange kind of fruits, such as lemon or grapefruit. And you look at it and you know you've seen it before. You must have bought some orange in your life that got rotten and you could not eat it anymore. And that kind of germ that grows on a bad orange is Penicillium citrinum. So it's possible that you can make chou tofu out of this, but I don't know. I'm just speculating. Okay, and on the right-hand side, you have the enlarged image of this kind of germ, but amplified many, many times, probably thousands of times, in order for you to see all the spores and the stem and so on. So this is a slide with 3 interesting pictures. And when we talked about that blue cheese, the text that I grabbed from Wikipedia says the blue cheese has a pungent smell or flavor. So pungent means very spicy and hot and piercing your nostril, having a strong, sharp smell or flavor. It refers to the characteristic of food commonly referred to as spiciness, hotness, or heat found in foods such as chili pepper. So when I read this, I thought, oh, okay, so it means hot, spicy. However, blue cheese, I don't think you can describe blue cheese as hot and spicy, but it does have a very strong taste and smell. So I guess you can use the word pungent, except that I always thought pungent is for hot food, not the blue cheese kind of pungent. So now I know. And here's the last word, which is exonerate. 中文我们叫做平反. Exonerate is when somebody was convicted of a crime, but he didn't do it, actually. He was innocent. And eventually, by some kind of efforts, he was able to get himself exonerated. 所以就是他平反. This is, you know, justice is not just, is not always fair. All over the world, maybe much more so in some places, but everywhere you go, there are injustices everywhere. Sometimes, for example, during the Cultural Revolution in China, then just about half of the population were convicted of crimes that they were innocent of. That's injustice on a very large scale. But in a country which thought itself as being very fair, I mean this country, the United States, such things also happen, not on such huge scale, but it does happen all the time, especially on Black people. When they do studies of people on death row, which means they were sentenced to die by the court in the government, these people are on death row, R-O-W, which means a row of people lining up to be killed. It's just a common expression about death sentence. We say on death row. So when people, especially many law students, they want to practice something, they're cheap labor, you know. Their professor would gather a group of law students and give them cases of people on death row, and they would go dig up the background and finally exonerate many of them because justice just failed these people, especially when they're Black. And there are so many people on death row that were Black that got exonerated by looking into their cases by those volunteered law students. You wouldn't believe. They would just go check out this the police or the prosecutors, how they pressure the defendant into a confession which was not true, or they would make up wrong evidence, or they ignore the real evidence, like your DNA samples. Sometimes the police would just throw it away or did not do anything about it. Such things could happen. And as a result, a person was going to be killed by the government, or many of them even were killed, actually killed, and later were found to be innocent. So this is a word that we can often read in the newspaper or on TV, exonerate. What I could hear in China often is people of the older generation, when they were persecuted or prosecuted and convicted, and later they were exonerated. Even now, so many years, like 50, 60, 70, maybe not that long, after Cultural Revolution, it was in the 60s, I think. So yeah, it's about 60 years. Oh my God. I know people who are still trying to get their ancestral property, the houses or land, returned to them by suing the government in court, even now, yeah. And you go to other countries, like the countries in the Eastern Bloc under Soviet occupation, you could see many buildings were abandoned because the rightful owner no longer is around. Maybe they escaped, they emigrated as refugee to other countries, and then this property is left there still abandoned. Yeah, these things are really quite bad when you see it, but it's still around when you travel. You can see them, say, in Romania. And then I'm going to talk about oracle bone script. It is these Jiagu Wen carved on animal bones or turtle shells. When they were discovered in the early part of the Republic, by which I mean 中华民国的初年, or the late part of Qing dynasty, it was big news, of course, but the Western people came around and tried to report such things, and they decided to translate the word 甲骨文 into oracle bone, because the carvings on it, it was not a regular letter. You don't write a letter on a piece of bone and send it to your friend. It is strictly there for divination. So someone would perform some kind of divination, usually by burning the bone or turtle shell on the fire, and see how it cracks up, how it broke into pieces, and the line of the crack. This is how they tell the future. They would say, oh, you're going to have a boy or a very good son because the line here goes this way and that way. That's a kind of divination. So this kind of script that's written on it is called oracle bone script. Script is just the words, but it's particularly used more for academic purpose. When we say 中文, we say Chinese or Hanyu or things like that. But if we're going to talk about this particular history of the written words or the evolution of the Chinese words and so on, we don't use the word word because that's too common. We would use the word script, which means the words, but in a very abstract way. Oracle bone script was ancestor of modern Chinese character. So we all learn and write using Chinese characters. And the ancestor of this character is oracle bone. So it is the oldest Chinese script. And they were engraved on oracle bones. So you get a piece of bone and you engrave it, you carve it on the bone, either animal bones or turtle shells. And then you do the divination. In the late 2nd millennium BCE, and it is the earliest known form of Chinese writing, okay? This happened in the late 2nd millennium. Millennium means 1,000 years. This MILLE means 1,000. And this, I don't know, anno, ANNO means 1 year. And this middle part of this word comes from anno. So millennium means 1,000年. So when the year 2000 was coming up, we all talk about the millennium. This word was all the rage. Everybody's talking about millennium, which we hardly use before that. And since then, we rarely use this word. And the vast majority, over 50,000 pieces were found at Henan Anyang Xiaotun Yinxu. This, of course, through thousands of years, people came across it, but they never noticed there are carvings on it, or they did not care if there are carvings until someone realized when he bought a piece from a Chinese herbal medicine shop, and this was one of the things that he bought, okay? Here's a picture I took of the front gate of Henan Anyang Xiaotun it's a museum, but it's called the Yinxu Boguan, but it's actually an oracle bone museum, the script on the oracle bone, okay? This gate is shaped like the word door on the oracle bone. And I was there in 2010. And most of this oracle bones discovered were from the last 9 kings of the Shang dynasty, starting with Wu Ding. Wu Ding is, if you count backwards, the 9 times, then Wu Ding is that king. And there are 9 all the way until the dynasty was overthrown by Zhou dynasty. And when Zhou dynasty came, people do not like to use oracle bones anymore. They find it not convenient. So they started to use this flower, which is yarrow. If you go around here, yarrow is everywhere. It's an indigenous plant here. What you can do is you Google yarrow or you Google milfoil, and you would find some picture, and then you go around to look at it. The best places I go look for wild plants would be in the park, national park or state park. National park seems to have even more, but of course, any hiking trail would be a good place to look for yarrow, and it is there. But I know that Sky Nursery, if you go to Sky Nursery, right in front, on the side of Sky Nursery, they have this planting boxes, and the yarrow was, some of them are yarrow, not just one. And come to think about it, there are shamrock in Ireland, 炸酱草, that has 4 leaves. And if you can find one with 4 leaves, that shows you have extraordinary luck. However, there is a barbecue shop on Lake City Way. It used to be called the Rain City Barbecue, but it has changed to a different owner. But last time I passed by, it's still a barbecue shop. If you go there and the planter boxes in front of that barbecue shop, they have plenty of 4-leaved shamrocks, okay? So if you want some good luck, go pick some. I should not say that. It's illegal for me to say that. You could do that on your own. It's not because I said it. Okay, so the bulk of the oracle bone people excavated, 挖起来的, were from the last 9 kings of the Shang dynasty. Very few were from the Zhou dynasty, which came after that. This is the oldest, but it's one of the 2 oldest Chinese family of scripts. The other is called the Jinwen. Jinwen is called the Jinwen because it's carved on metallic vessels, usually on a ding, 周朝或者商朝的ding. A ding is called a tripod because it has only 3 legs, a tripod. And on this tripod, which is usually made of bronze, 青铜, you could see sometimes carved words, and they were very similar to oracle bone scripts. And they were actually even more primitive, if I may say so. I'm going to show you some pictures. This oracle bone script is the forefather, the ancestor of Chinese script and the Japanese script. And in some other places in Wikipedia, it also mentioned Vietnamese and Korean and so on. So many Asian countries, if you look at their language, written language, you could find traces from way back from oracle bone script. And on these oracle bones, there are lots of different scripts for divination, and they were about the topics. We're talking about topics now, 就是话题. What are they about? They're about war. You would do divination when you're going to war. About ritual sacrifice, about agriculture, such as will it be a good year this year, about the birth and illness and the death of the royal family. So there are a whole wide range of topics on these carved on these bones. So we gathered many samples of words. And from that, we could understand the civilization, the society of the 3,000, more than 3,000 years ago. That is a wonderful thing, yeah. Here I have a picture of some scripts. The first line and the fourth line are bronzeware script, 就是金文哈, bronzeware script. So they're much more primitive. They're more like a picture, huh? A picture word is called the pictographic, 就是说 to draw a picture to present as what you want to say. Eventually they became the words you write, but in the oldest form, it's very much like a picture. So you look at this, you have this line and this line. They are much more primitive than this one. This line is oracle bone scripts. These, compared to the words we now write, which is this line, they are so much more primitive. But after 3,000 years, they evolve into this kind. Well, it didn't take that long. Actually, maybe 1,500 years is enough for them to evolve into these kaishu. This is called the regular script. So we have bronzeware script and the oracle bone script and the regular script. And of course, in between them, we have you know, 隶书, 篆书, 草书, all these things, huh? I think 隶书, sometimes we call the clerks or scripts. script, that's not good, okay. A clergy, not clergy, clergy is religious, but the regular people who work in the office is a clerk. That's the 隶书 and the 篆书 and 草书. And 草书, we would probably call it cursive or wild 狂草, huh? All these words, but the kaishu is what we use now, and you can say that in English, regular script. I don't think I'm going to spend much time about the discovery, so I use a very small font. In the beginning, it was in 1899, Liu E, who wrote 老残游记, he and his friend, who's called the Wang Yirong. Wang Yirong was sick, so he went to the drugstore or herbal medicine store, and he discovered one piece of the medicine has words on it. And as a result, they actively went about to find out from these herbal medicine stores and try to find out where they got their product from, because it's been going on for thousands or even hundreds or even thousands of years. And they got a lot of them, and just when they were going to study it, this Wang Yirong killed himself because of 八国联军 occupied Beijing. Peking was occupied by the alliance of 8 nations. 八国联军 1900年 And then people started, scholars started to study, and they were able to organize excavation. And the leader was Fu Sinian, who was the first president of Taida. And he organized the excavation with assigning the leadership to Dong Zuobin. These are all people older than we do, so they are dead by now. And they engaged in 15 excavations before the Sino-Japanese, the second Sino-Japanese war broke out. They did 15 times of excavation. And after our Japanese occupation, they also did some excavation and shipped what they found back to Japan. And when Mao Zedong founded the People's Republic of China, Chinese continued to conduct such things. And these are the name of people in history who engaged in the research of oracle bone. And it's a short list. Well, I skipped many of them, I don't know, but I've heard of these people from the first discovery all the way to the current people, because the last one, who is a Japanese, and I met him in person when I was studying at UW Chinese department. One summer, he came and taught us Japanese for the summer. And later on, I found out he was an oracle bone expert. And he was the first scholar to systematically treat the language of the oracle bones from the perspective of modern linguistics. 从现代的语言学的角度来分析这个甲骨文的文字。He's the first one, and he's Japanese. And then we talk about the book of Cal, and it is ancient, probably written in the year 200 AD. And they were finely executed with fancy, extraordinarily beautiful illustration. Illustration 就是你这个文字里面加着插图，叫做 illustration. And however, the simple word of illustration is not good enough for this kind of beautiful, beautiful books. So they would use the word illuminated manuscript. Manuscript, manual means hand, script that is written by hand, not like whatever book you buy from the store. Those are not manuscripts, but these ancient ones were written by hand. That's manuscript. Illuminated means very fancily illustrated. And this book called the Book of Kells, this is one group of such books. And there are many others. And this one is among all of them, the most beautiful and the big and in large quantity. So Book of Kells is an illuminated manuscript gospel book. So it deals with the gospels. The first 4 books of the New Testament, that is the second part of the Bible. The first part of the second part of Bible, the 4 books are called the Gospels. 我们讲过很多次哈。So this is written by hands by the monks in Latin. All the words are in Latin. 拉丁文哈。The 4 Gospels of the New Testament, including texts and pictures and the tables. And these were, the tribal name is called the Celtic. Celtic 是一个种族 and they came from Russia all the way maybe they came from the Caucasus, 从高加索山脉出来, then it went to Russia and then to Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and all the way when they went to Ireland, they could not go any further unless when they sail on the ship to America. But at that time, there's no America in that world. So this tribe is called Celtic, and you could trace their ancestors all the way back to the Caucasus. So they have similar civilization. And when they moved to Ireland, in the beginning, there was no Christianity, no monks from Rome were sent to Ireland or England, for that matter, until the 4th century. So the Roman Pope, I forgot which one, probably Hadrian, he sent people, missionaries, to the United Kingdom because he saw some children from England being sold as slaves in Rome. So he decided that he should send some missionaries to England to preach Christianity. They tried and failed for many years until St. Patrick came along. Well, in England, it's earlier than that. There was Augustine. St. Augustine was earlier, but the one who eventually went to, actually, I heard St. Patrick was the first. Yes, St. Patrick was the first, and he went to Ireland to convert the Irish people so that they became Christians. That was in 4th or 5th century. And then he went out, he sent out other missionaries to preach in England and Scotland, but Ireland was first. So in the year 200, there were monks who resided on some remote islands, and they copied this kind of manuscript, and they did all the painting and so on. So these are very, very old and beautiful and treasured. And they were done in an island in Ireland. There are many islands with such missionaries, but this one is one of the smaller ones. And nowadays we say Book of Kel is an insular illuminated manuscript gospel book. By insular, it means it's from an island. I took that out because I thought, we don't have to learn that word, but then I encountered the words later. So here is the word insular. So you should really say insular. Insular means hideout. So we talk about this one and this one. This is St. Patrick. And now we have St. Patrick Day. We just had it a couple weeks ago. And that's because St. Patrick was from Rome. And he was the first person who successfully converted Irish people. There were many people before him who failed because the Irish people believed in an ancient form of pagan, P-A-G-A-N, which means 异教, pagan. Even now, anywhere you have Christian who that came around through missionaries, you would have a new religion, which is a mixture of local religion and Christianity. So no religion could stay absolutely true to its original form once it arrives in a foreign country. It has to adopt some of the local culture in order to be accepted by local people. For example, when Li Madou came to China, he was not able to convert too many people, maybe Xu Guangqi and maybe a handful of other people, until he decided that he would include Confucianism and Taoism and the Chinese tradition of a filial piety, 就是孝顺 filial piety. Filial means familial, or as a son. Fili means a son. The son respect to the parents. The Chinese would worship, they would put a shrine on a table or somewhere in the house with a shrine, and they would worship their ancestor. And this is absolutely taboo to Catholic Church. However, Li Madou decided that he should allow Chinese people to still worship their ancestors. Otherwise, there's no way he's going to convert Chinese to become Christians. So this is what these Roman Catholics going to all kinds of countries had to adopt to local culture. And there was a huge battle between Li Madou and the Roman Catholic Church on these issues. Finally, the Pope relented and decided that, okay, you can do that. Okay, this is about this. Okay, this is in 2012, the year I retired, and I went to Ireland. And this is a Trinity College, 三位一体大学. And the line is out of this picture, a very long line, queuing up to see the Book of Kells. The Book of Kells, it's located in the old library. And this is the entrance, and you cannot take any pictures. So from the next picture, these are not my pictures. And these are the book. There are the exhibition in this Book of Kells cabinets. Okay, there are signs, and these are from Wikipedia or internet. You can grab. These are real good pictures of the real manuscript. It's so beautiful. Don't you agree? This is the opening of the Gospel of John, 就是约翰福音的第一页. This is enthroned. They put Jesus on the throne. And this is just a regular page with very little decoration. And this is a picture of the four gospel writers. You have Matthew and Mark and John and Luke in this order. And this is another page of a canon, which is not the Bible itself, I guess. This is John the Baptist. Oh, no, this is not John the Baptist. This is John the Evangelist. There are two different Johns. The old library was a gift from a person, Archbishop, who gave his collection of books to Trinity College in the year 16 something. And he himself is a great man, and the collection of his books was published by the university in 24 volumes. And this library is big, and the biggest room in the library is the long room. And it keeps the Book of Kells. And I told you about the, it's not the harpsichord. How do you call that? Harp, okay, harp. Harp is the musical instrument that you play this way. It's just beautiful because it's like our 古筝. You use your fingers.
竖琴，
Yeah.
竖琴对吧？
竖琴, yeah. It's
竖琴，
a琴. You put it upright. You play a piano this way, but 竖琴 is like this. Yeah. Okay. The old library and with the Book of Kells is one of Ireland's biggest tourist attraction. And this long room is really, really long and full of ancient books. These you cannot take pictures here either. This is from the second floor, you look down. And I remember one of the displays is the book written by Isaac Newton, Mathematica Encyclopedia or something. 就是牛顿他写的 one of the greatest book ever published. There was one copy there in this library. And these are all 我们叫线装书, but 他们不叫线装书 because they are all finely 怎么说精装书 huh? And these are all great scholars in history. And here are displays in cases. And this is the one I showed you last time. It's in that library, which is like from the 14th or 15th century. Okay, let's start. We are a little ahead today, huh? This is Ed Sheeran, his song called "The Perfect," and I was going to play this song, but I can't. Let me try again, but I'm sure I can't. I just tried before I started, and this is here. I have this thing I could click, but it's not working. So I'm going to just stop share. How do you do that? Okay, I haven't done it for a while. I'll stop share and choose share screen with this one. Okay. This is from YouTube.
I found a love for me. Darling, just dive right in. Follow my lead. Well, I found a girl, beautiful and sweet. Well, I never knew you were the someone waiting for me. 'Cause we were just kids when we fell in love, not knowing what it was. I will not give you up this time. Darling, just kiss me slow. Your heart is all I own, and in your eyes you're holding mine. Baby, I'm dancing in the dark with you between my arms, barefoot on the grass. We're listening to our favorite song. When you said you looked a mess, I whispered underneath my breath, but you heard it. Darling, you look perfect tonight. Well, I found a woman stronger than anyone I know. She shares my dreams. I hope that someday I'll share her home. I found a love to carry more than just my secrets, to carry love, to carry children of our own. We are still kids, but we're so in love, fighting against all odds. I when I saw you in that dress, looking so beautiful. I don't deserve this, darling. You look perfect tonight. No, no,
Yeah, I love it. Oh, he's going to sing.
baby, I'm dancing in the dark, with you between my arms, or barefoot on the grass, or listening to our favorite song. I have faith in what I see. Now I know I have met an angel in person, and she looks perfect. I don't deserve this. You look perfect tonight.
Okay. We are going back to this one. Okay. Immediately I like this song very much. I've never heard of this person who is a very famous person. That just shows you how out of touch I am. I only knew songs from my childhood, maybe till 20. I hardly learned many new songs since then, except for those I learned in the chorus. Okay, so we just went through all the words, and there's nothing difficult about it. I find this song very attractive. The melody is nice. You can hear every word that he says. And there's no difficult words, but his feeling is very genuine. So you feel it's really, he poured out his heart to you. It moves me, yeah. However, in hindsight, I don't know why I like it so much, because it doesn't have great words, it doesn't have great whatever, but it is lovely. Yeah. Okay. Here's a picture of him. He's certainly not very smart looking, but his name is Ed Sheeran, and he's only, less than 30 years old, and one of the richest people in the world, I suppose, because in the year 2004, when he was like 23 years old, he started to put his songs on YouTube, and that's how he got famous. Then he was selling records or selling tunes on the internet, and he sold more than 150 million records. And this song is a romantic ballad. A ballad is a folk song, so not in any form like jazz or rock and roll. No, it's just a folk song. At that time, he just met his wife for the second time because they grew up together. And according to himself, they were in love when they were kids. But then when he finally got in touch with her, and he fell right away in love, and he wanted to marry this woman. And he wrote this song, and he said, I want to write the best song ever in memory of this wonderful day. That's what happened. And it's just a guitar, I suppose. I didn't pay much attention, but later on, they got Andrea Bocelli to sing this song, and they got a full string orchestration to accompany Andrea Bocelli. I don't have much to say about that song because I know very little about I know nothing about this person anyway, but he's talking about falling in love and finding this moment so perfect. This woman is so perfect for him. He decided that he's going to marry this woman, and they would live together and have children and so on and so forth. So when I saw this Tang Feng Chou Mo, I thought, well, that's about the same thing. This is about a wedding. Maybe 2,500 years ago, a wedding of a bride and a groom, and it's a happy occasion. And the bridegroom is so excited when he looked at this woman, either for the first time or for the many times before. We don't know, but he feels that this woman is just perfect for him. So I thought I would talk about this song, which is from Tang Feng. Tang is one of the states in spring and autumn period. And we have CHING, which was collected folk songs by Confucius, and it's probably organized by him or by later people, I don't know, but they divided into parts. The first part is songs of each state. It's a local, we say countries, but it's just a state. There are 15 of them. And many of them are, of course, no longer a state now, but they are called different names. Let me just go find this. It's easier to see this. Okay, so there are 15 collected, 15. Each one would contain like 20 or so songs from that state, and the 15 of them, maybe less than 20. Okay, the entire book of songs had 305 songs. So each book or each chapter for each state would have like 10 to 20 pieces in it. And these are called Song of the State. And there are 15 states. And of course, we've heard of Zhou, Wei, Zheng, Qi, Wei, Tang, Qin, Chen, Cao. These are more popular locations in history. Some of them became a dynasty, some of them became a kingdom, but there are others that are very rarely heard of, like Beifeng, Yongfeng, and the last one, Binfeng. These are places, of course, in the China we know, but we did not know these local names. And aside from these 15 chapters, which belong to Guofeng, we have Daya, Xiaoya, and the Song. These are 3 other parts of the Book of Songs, and they are more ceremonial songs or a praise of the government. And the Song especially is the praises are for the 2 major countries. One is Zhou, and one is Lu, because Lu is the country of Confucius. So they particularly put this 2 collections into a song. This is roughly about CHING. And here we have this text which says, 筹谋数星，三星在天，今夕何夕，见此良人, or maybe 见此良人, I guess it's 见。子兮子兮，如此良人何? This is a standard CHING song. It has 3 stanzas. Stanzas 就是每一段叫做一个 stanza. And most of CHING songs have 3 stanzas, but of course there are different ones, like 2 or 4 or 5 or whatever. Some are even much longer. And most of them, maybe 90 to 95% of them, have 4 words in the line, like 筹谋数星，三星在天，今夕何夕， 见此良人. This is the most common type of Shu Jing poems. And most of them have, as I said, 3 stanzas, almost identical, like this one. So this one is a very standard format, in a very standard format. So when you go to the next paragraph, it's almost the same thing. 筹谋数除，三心在于，今夕何夕见此邂逅，自夕自夕如此邂逅何。It's all got 3 words in a line, but the last line is 4 words. And you look at these 2 stanzas and you see 心 and 除 in the same position. They're just a different word. 心 is firewood, while 除 and 楚 are different trees that were cut down. And then you have 三星在天. In the beginning, when the wedding started, the evening just arrived, and 三星, which is a certain constellation called the Shen Xing, it was in the middle of the sky. And as the party progressed, you would see it moved to an angle. And then in the 3rd stanza, it's at the eye level, it's outside the window. So this is the song about this party that went on from maybe 6 o'clock p.m. all the way into, I don't know, it could be very late in the night. So this is the different words in each stanza that tells you the change in time. And aside from this, everything else is the same. You say 见此良人 or 邂逅 or 灿者, or these things are just exchangeable. They can be changed between them. So it's actually one simple song with 5 lines, which was repeated in order for you to get the feeling that this party went on and on. Without these 3 words, 天, 雨, and 户, you would not know that the time is changing. But you know what he's talking about from the beginning to the end. It's all the same. Here we have this 筹谋. When we were in high school, we learned 未雨绸缪, 就是说, before the rain comes, we should prepare. We should be ready for the rain, because when it starts to rain and your roof leaks, then that's not a good thing. So the teacher would tell you to 未雨绸缪, that is to always be prepared, just like the Boy Scouts, always be prepared. And in this original sense, it means to straighten up things, or to bundle up things, or to repair the roof. So here we have this word 筹谋. In this particular case, it's not talking about getting ready for rain. It's talking about, we have a wedding coming, and at the wedding there are a man and a woman, and we're going to bind the firewood, and it symbolically, we're just buying these 2 people together, and they're going to be happy together, and we're wishing them never separate. Okay, this is what this 筹谋, why this is used here, because it's first used because when you're trying to bind the firewood together, but then you move your attention to this couple, and you wish this couple would be bound together for life with very deep feelings. And here's the 三星, it's called this one. This word is exactly, it means 3. So 三星 is this 星, which is called 身星. It's pronounced as 身. When we have杜甫's 正位八位正什么八处士, he wrote that. He said, 人生不相见，动如身与伤. This is exactly this constellation, this 3-star constellation. And the other constellation, which is Antares. These two are opposite in the sky. So when this star goes this way, you cannot see the other one. And all the way around, then they're always in the opposite position. So it is called the 动如身与伤, means we're like 身心 and 伤心. We were old friends, but we just never come across each other for years. That's what that means. So this constellation has 3 big stars, but it has many other stars. Here I came to learn that Zheng Xuan, who is a great commentator, he said, in the ancient times, the weddings always takes place in the evening. That's because it's an agricultural society. So people would have time for parties like weddings in the evening. So it's called the 结婚, 就是 when evening comes, you do a wedding party, okay? So because it's in the evening, you need to light up torches or whatever you use to so that you can see. So for a wedding party, you always have to prepare lots of firewood in order to see. And this is the star. I'm going to talk a little bit about the star a little later. And this is actually written by someone who's poking jokes at this newlywed. He's saying that, oh, they're so much in love. Look at this. 今夕何夕见此良人, which means you ask this bridegroom, what day is today? What date of whatever? And he's totally out of it. He's so much in love and so happy to be marrying to this woman that he did not know what day it is. So this is a bystander and a participant and attendee of the party who pokes joke at this bridegroom and bride. And the last line, of course, is the punchline, which says, "Oh, what a perfect partner I'm getting. You are getting." Okay, so that's why I picked this to match that song perfect, because it gave me the same feeling. This very happy couple getting married, not knowing what day it is, because they look at this partner and this is a perfect partner for me. That's what this song is all about. And this is it. Okay, so this is Orion, which is the constellation that we're talking about. It's a Shenxing. One of the on the left-hand side, you see a picture which is from Central Asia. It's some kind of painting. I did not pay much attention, but it is a picture of this Orion constellation, which is in Wikipedia shown on the picture in the right. So you see there are many, many stars. Some of them are brighter than others. And this one is in English or in international language. You call this star Rigel, which is the biggest one here and the biggest one in the sky, as I was told. And this red one is Orion first. It's called Betelgeuse. So you have all these stars, and these two are the largest ones. This one is called the Rigel, R-I-G-E-L. Of course, you don't have to learn that word. I did not learn that until today. And this one is called the Betelgeuse. Here's a list of all the major stars in this constellation. A constellation is what I would call here constellation, 就是星座哈。Orion 叫做猎户星座。In this thing, we have several stars listed here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we listed 6 seven stars in this constellation, and the biggest two are Betelgeuse and Rigel, and this red one is Betelgeuse. And here on this chart, you can see their Chinese name. This is called the Shen Xiu哈，我们叫的秀，生锈四叫做 Betelgeuse， 它的这个拜耳星名叫做 Orionis Alpha 哈 ，these are Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and so on. And 这个星的等级呢 ，how big it is? This one is 0.0 to 1.3. The smaller, the brighter. These two are the brightest stars. And how far it is from the Earth, how many light years away. So you know, even though we see all these stars as a constellation, they are actually very far away from each other. These two are like 600 or 800 light years from us, but some are 2,000 light years away from us. And how big are the stars? This is Benjing. I don't know. I should have written down how. It cannot be miles. It has to be using a much bigger measurement. So that, and I'm going to talk about how big it is, but I did not know the measurement. This is the Orion. Chi. Okay, it says it's almost one of the most conspicuous, 就是看得见的 and recognizable, 就是认得出来的哈。Conspicuous 跟 recognizable 是有一点不同哈。You can see there is a star. It's conspicuous, but you would be able to recognize which constellation this is. So that is a recognition thing, huh? And this constellation is called Orion, which is a hunter god. It's from Greek mythology. And in this constellation, the brightest is a blue, white Rigel and the red Betelgeuse. And the Betelgeuse is really, really big. How big it is. If you put it where the sun is, then the entire, all these orbits of Mars and Mercury, Venus and Earth and all the way to Jupiter would be covered by this one star. You can imagine how big it is. It's 1,000 upon 1,000 times the size of the sun. However, it's not the largest how do you say that? Star, not the largest star, even though it's very, very big, because there are several much larger just in our Milky Way. We are on the globe, the Earth, which is in the solar system, which is inside the Milky Way, and there are billions of stars in Milky Way, and the Betelgeuse is not the biggest. Oh, okay. There you go. That's the end of it. I did it. Okay. I have like 6 or 7 minutes left. So you can all speak up. Yeah, just unmute yourself and we can talk. Yeah, I did that. I did not take a break because I was taking a break during the time we were listening to this. So I'm just curious, how come I cannot see any of you? You see, I don't know.
Yeah, don't go gallery 那边。
I know, I don't have that. Usually on the right-hand side, there is a view with those dots, but I no longer have it since the last 2 months or so.
哦，谢谢老师，要花很多时间准备。
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, but anyone has anything to say? Please say it.
老师喜欢吃 cheese 呀、
I like quite a few kinds of cheese, but in the world of cheese, I only know maybe less than 1% of the cheeses because there are so many different kinds. Yeah.
我有
Yes，
一次，对，有一次去做 biking，他们晚餐都有一个 dessert cheese，然后那里是很多不同的 cheese。
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was once on the river cruise like Viking, but I was on Grand Circle. And this I was on their cruises, river cruises many times, but this particular one in France, every night they were to introduce you to 3 different cheeses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see that during many of my previous river cruises, also conducted by Grand Circle. But this one in France, they are particularly proud of their cheeses. Yeah, you know, some country has cheese, and we Chinese hardly, in our history, we just, well, not in our history, okay. I heard that in Tang Dynasty, Chinese ate a lot of cheese, but not anymore, not before, not after. So
哦，唐朝啊，
yeah, there were a lot of cheeses at that time. But if you go to different countries, some of them had cheese for many, many years, but they were not like the French people. They just have 1 or 2 or 3 kinds, and they were not of excellent quality. But the French people, they're so dedicated in the research of making cheese. There's probably no comparison in the world.
哦 I see。
唐朝跟西域比较来往的多哈。
对对对 yeah.
哦，
And
不晓得
lots
唐
of
朝也是
music came from 西域, lots of them, like our 唢呐也不是中国的哈. We have our 古琴 or 筝 or something, or 笙, we have 笙, which looks like this. But 唢呐 and some of the drums and many other, they have 马头琴, we've seen 马头琴 coming from 西域, yes.
蒙古的
唢呐也是从西域来的吗？
Yes, yeah. When I was in Turkey, one day we were just standing there by a bridge, and there were several people playing their local musical instrument. And we were very curious, and the tour guide said that instrument is called the sona. So it's sona. So it's exactly their language, in their language, yes.
唢呐那个声音就比较凄凉那种感觉。
Yeah,
我以为是中国的，因为好像丧礼都有那些古时候有
yeah,
些唢呐，是不是？
对，中国比较没有这种所谓的brass band， 我们有琴啊，我们有这样各种各样的琴，可是我们有吹的笛子、箫啊什么的，可是I don't know if we had the real Chinese trumpets or things like that. But I personally saw Turkish people playing it, and it's called sona. So I assume it's from there.
哇，
还有那个扬琴也是西域来的。
Yeah, since it's called yangqing, it's like yangcong. You know, it's not indigenous. Yeah, we like to say 番茄, 洋葱, or 胡琴. 胡琴 is probably from 西域 as well. Yeah.
In 2 weeks' time.
Yeah. I think it's time for us to close the session, but you know that from now on, I'll try to leave more time for you, so you come prepared to have questions or comments ready. Okay?
OK， 谢谢老师，谢谢 Jerry，
谢谢老师。
Yeah.
Thank you so much.